way they cover things. Get out there. Having said that, this is something I seldom do. We as a country are taking this seriously. It's still the Democratic Party. Keep your eyes on the prize.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Mo Ray. This is The Other Side of Talk. Running a little late today. Apologies for that. But there is a lot to talk about in the news. And I will tell you, ironically, I'm running a little late because, and I can't tell you everything, but very soon I might be returning to a previous gig. I'll let you know more about that as soon as I can. And that's part of the reason things are a little hectic today. But this is the gig of the moment, and I love doing it. So welcome. And hey, Mario is on the other side, keeping things straight on the other side. And a lot of things happening today. One thing that keeps happening, though, is that it's like Groundhog Day. The president keeps losing court cases, and yet he keeps saying that it's all a big rigged situation. And in fact, he says it quite a few times. And we'll be talking about that and more today. Also, we're going to be talking about the COVID-19 situation in this country. We're going to be talking about the COVID-19 vaccine. Would you take that vaccine? I actually got into a disagreement. I won't say a disagreement, but I have a friend of mine who's in the medical profession, and she's saying, hey, not so fast. In my opinion, though, the thing is that since they are getting started with the vaccinations in England, I don't see why by the time the average person could possibly get these vaccines, we're probably talking summer at the earliest. Some people are saying it could be early spring. Some people are saying it could be late as early fall. But either way, millions of people would have had these vaccines by the time it comes around to the average person. There's a certain criteria they're using here. They're going with the people who are on the front lines first. That is the medical profession, people like that, the elderly, people in nursing homes and such. And in fact, the lady that got her shot today in England was in a nursing home. And she's 91 years old. In fact, she'll be 92 when she gets her second round. This is, of course, in case you haven't heard, the Pfizer variety of this vaccine requires 2 rounds, 3 weeks apart. And she got the shot on her 91st birthday. She'll get her second shot on her 92nd birthday. And we'll take a look at that whole thing a little bit later. But by the way, I want to remind you that our number here is 330-595-1600. If you'd like to join us, if you have any comments on anything you see here or anything, well, even if something we're not talking about, I'd like to hear from you. But let's start out right now. Let's take a look at the president. He's not in Egypt, but he's definitely in denial. Let's take a look at, and I'm trying something different today. I'm running my own clip. So if I look a little awkward, we're going to get the hang of this. But this is the president, and this is from Now This. This is a compilation of all the times he said that this thing is rigged over the past weekend. You remember the late Charlie Daniels had a song called The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Yeah, he did, this past Saturday.
We're all victims. Everybody here, all these thousands of people here tonight, they're all victims, every one of you. We lost, supposedly. We didn't lose. Oh, they won. I don't think so. They're trying to convince us that we lost. We didn't lose. There's no way this could have happened other than the obvious cheating or a rigged election. Let me tell you, this election was rigged. It's rigged. It's a fixed deal. They cheated and they rigged our presidential election. Lying, cheating, robbing, stealing, rigging, fraud, deception, and deceit. If I lost, I'd be a very gracious loser. If I lost, I would say I lost. But listen to this. These are the facts. And each fact is like irrefutable, and it means win. Hundreds of thousands of illegal votes were cast in each state. You know, we won Georgia, just so you understand. Actually, I won Wisconsin. They're trying to say he's a little down, but I actually won. The swing states that we're all fighting over now, I won them all by a lot. We won 2 elections, believe it or not. Hundreds of thousands of ballots were illegally cast in your state and all over the country, by the way. But when the numbers come out of ceilings and come out of leather bags, you start to say, what's going on? They found a lot of ballots, to be nice about it, and they got rid of some, too. We sent out tens of thousands, millions and millions of ballots. Nobody knew where they came from, where they are. People were getting 2, 3, 4 ballots. They were signing them and sending them in. What a mess. Democrats will have dead people voting. Dead people. You wouldn't believe how many. Illegal aliens. And they'll be filing out and filling out ballots for people who don't even exist. They put up names. They have people signing their own name over and over. In 2020, no state in America even makes any real attempt to verify that those who cast ballots by mail are eligible and lawfully registered voters. The alleged Biden margin of victory in several states is entirely accounted for by extraordinarily large midnight vote dumps. They had more ballots than they had people voting. There are far more ballots than there are envelopes. Numerous times we found glitches, and every single time the glitch went 100% to Biden. We have all the information. We have so much evidence. I think they say that if you win Florida and if you win Ohio, in history, you've never lost an election. This has got to be a first time. But the truth is they were right. We've never lost an election. We're winning this election. We will never surrender. We will only win. We're going to win. We always win. Somehow we find a way to win. So you have to be very careful when you're sarcastic.
And there you go. Same old for Mr. Trump. And by the way, a couple of things he said there. He's right about one thing. Historically, Ohio has been a bellwether, and the president, if you didn't win the state of Ohio, you probably wouldn't go on to win the presidential race. But this was an exception because some states were picked up that Trump won previously. So that's what's going on there. And also, he's lost I've got it here. He's actually lost 48 legal battles. I don't know what he's talking about, how he's winning when he's losing battles left and right. And this nonsense about going to the Supreme Court. Well, you're not going to make it to the Supreme Court if you've lost, 48 cases in the lower courts. The Supreme Court has better things to do with their time. But yet there's still people living in a fantasy world when it comes to this. And I'm going to pass on this today. Thursday, I'm going to show you what the other side is looking at to make them even buy into Trump's fantasy. There is alternative news out there. Speaking of which, by the way, did you notice that even Kellyanne Conway acknowledged that Donald Trump lost, that Joe Biden likely won? That was her exact phrasing. She didn't say, her old boss lost, but she's not on his payroll anymore, so she can tell the truth. Also, in case you missed it, there is a good chance that before the end of the current president's term, that his attorney general, Bob Barr, might be stepping down. Pardon me, that's Bill Barr. No, I always get it wrong. Is it William Barr? It's Bill Barr. No, it's
Barr.
Huh?
Definitely Barr.
Well, let's just say Attorney General Barr. I don't want to mess up my momentum. Excuse me, folks. Like I said, and there's a lot going on around here today. But so let me read some comments. And can I do that? Oh, you do that. Yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. And let's see who's. Let's see. I am my daddy. And thank you, Willie. That's an allusion to the. I don't know if you've seen that commercial. I forgot the product, but you've got the guy who played Picard and the guy who played Luke Skywalker. And okay, but let's cut that stuff out because I'm not going to that. We're trying to keep it serious. But let's see. Greetings from Akron. Greetings to you, Tim. And Michael said you are fantastic, and I can't wait to have you back on the air. Well, like I said, we'll see what happens and where and when. Okay, I don't want to say too much right now, but Debbie says I hope you come back to your 570 gig. Thank you, Debbie, and I'm glad even your emoji is wearing a mask. I should have known you're conscientious. Let's see, Michael says, I hope it's 570 also. Maybe you can replace someone. We can only hope. I can't imagine who you could be talking about. And Tim says, amazed millions of Americans still believe the election was rigged against Trump. Rigged, I think he means rigged by millions of voters. An IT firm, a former South American president who's been dead for 7 years, and rigged only for POTUS, and only in states that Trump lost. That's right, and it's been pointed out many times. If some nefarious powers had the control over this election, there's no damn way Mitch McConnell would have been reelected, or Lindsey Graham for that matter, and I can think of a few more. So it's really fallen apart. I mean, they can play their games, but there's no way. I hate to keep repeating the obvious when you have election officials, both Republican and Democrat, in all 50 states saying that there's no evidence of massive fraud. When you have the Attorney General of the United States, the president's hand-picked Attorney General, saying that there's no evidence of fraud. When you have, I don't know, what else do you need? I mean, it's just ridiculous to me that these people are so in the power of Donald Trump that they will believe anything he says. And of course, they believe this guy is the greatest president ever, and there's no way that many people could not like him. But this was his fatal error. He only played to those Kool-Aid drinkers. He didn't care what the rest of us thought. And he spent a lot of time bashing us and the people that we vote for and we admire. He demonized the Democratic Party. And then you wonder, and I think his biggest error was in his handling, or should I more accurately say his mishandling of the coronavirus. I mean, total disaster. And he continues to totally ignore it. You've got thousands of people dying a week, and he doesn't even talk about it anymore because he knows it's not a winner for him. So that was his biggest mistake. It's just sad, and it's really sad that we are where we are. Let's see. Julie says, will I be able to call you on 570? I've been labeled a stalker. Well, Julie, I like nice stalkers, but let's see. Michael says he needs to open his eyes, ears. He lost, caps and a whole bunch of exclamation marks. And Dennis says, Ohio at this point in history is no longer a bellwether and no longer a swing state. And yeah, that's what I was alluding to, Dennis. You're absolutely correct. And it's William Barr, says Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. So he's Bill Barr. Thank you. I knew it was two B's, but I couldn't remember which was his first name. But let's see. Julie says U.S. Supreme Court blocked the bid to stop the PA election, per CNN. So these people thinking that the Supreme Court is going to save the president of the United States. No, the Supreme Court is there. Their allegiance is not to the president. Their allegiance is to the Constitution. And despite all the garbage this president and his enablers are spewing, there's nothing wrong here. In fact, I think the Joe Biden victory might be the only thing that 2020 got right. So, it says Bill will soon, Tim says Bill will soon be barred from his AG gig. Yes, he's already, there's already rumors that he might be resigning. And I think he's doing that, you know the old thing, you can't fire me, I quit. Kind of that mentality. And Barbara says they are beating a dead horse. You're right, they are, but they will continue. And Christopher says, hey, Mo. And I say, hey, Christopher. And now let's get back to some clips. Yeah. That's where I'm going. Okay. As we, as you saw, the president, that's what he's saying. But just as recently as today, Joe Biden was handed another victory. And the attorney, pardon me, not the attorney general, but the lead voting official in, no, this is the attorney general speaking. I'm sorry. The attorney general of Georgia makes his case that, there's nothing wrong here. I just have to keep saying that. The sad thing is, though, that Donald Trump's plan is obvious. He wants to damage Joe Biden as much as possible. He wants to cast Biden's victory as somehow illegitimate, and he'll continue to do so. Before I go to this clip, I also want to say I hope that the media does not enable him in this endeavor. I've already seen, I told you that I'd heard a rumor that he might not show for the inauguration. It gets worse, folks. There's a rumor that he might have try to do some, at the same time as the new president is being sworn in, he might try to do a made-for-TV thing as he flies away on Air Force One to try to be counter-programming. I hope the ratings are terrible if he does that. And I hope that history will record that this is the first president who was not gracious enough to hand over the baton, so to speak, to his successor. That Donald Trump is a sore loser, and he will be a sore loser for all of history. This presidency is going to be a footnote and a cautionary tale. This is everything that America should not be about. And going forward, I hope we never encounter another person like this sitting in the Oval Office, because this man is a danger. He's continuing to make moves behind the scenes, put his people in certain places. You saw, I don't know if you're aware that he's trying to put these oil leases up for auction because he knows Biden would never let that happen. We are energy secure right now. We don't need to go into this pristine wilderness and start drilling. He's doing this as a favor to his buddies in the oil business, and it's disgusting. But here's something. This is the Joe Biden version of where we are, and let's take a look. Oh, that's not how you do it. You do it like this.
Got it. Integrity matters. Truth matters. We have now counted legally cast ballots 3 times, and the results remain unchanged. Today, the Secretary of State's office will be recertifying our state's election results. Then the safe harbor under the United States Code to name electors is tomorrow, and then they will meet on December 14th to officially elect the next president.
And so that's it. I mean, this is all but a done deal. And that's just the way the law works. But it's really sad that a lot of people, they're either unaware. Like today, I was going back and forth briefly with a guy on Facebook who said that none of these, and I mentioned all the cases that Trump has thrown out there. He said, these aren't Trump cases. I don't even know what he meant by that. So I'm sorry, guy. The president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is, he's putting these cases out there, and I'm assuming he's doing it for the president. So I don't even understand the mentality of some of these people. And I don't understand the whole stolen election thing. He can keep saying it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. But where's your evidence, Mr. President? Why have so many of your cases been thrown out of court if it's so obviously rigged? Why are even your fellow Republicans, like the person that was just on the screen, saying that you lost? And why aren't the followers able to step away from the Kool-Aid long enough to take a whiff of reality? It's just sad. Oh, by the way, the phone number here is 330-595-1600. That's 330-595-1600. Just like 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where Joe Biden will be sitting after January 20th. But now, I've got to do some editing on the fly here because there's another part of this I want you to see. And like I said, we've changed the format slightly here. So I didn't know I'd be doing this. So bear with me just a minute because there's something else I want you to see on this particular clip. And I'm going ahead. Let's see. Where was that? All right. I'm there. Close enough. Okay, so let's take a look at a little more on this. By the way, this is from Now This, and that's they lean left for sure, but the information, they just let the clips speak for themselves and they give you a little information. Let's take a look at Now This.
What's your take on the sentiment, even the ask to hold a special session to appoint different electors?
Yeah, one, the law doesn't provide for that opportunity, but two, to your point, John, it's just a bad idea. I mean, to think I would wake up one day and decide that 2.5 million people's vote didn't count just because it wasn't the way I wanted the election to turn out. That's certainly not democracy.
Do you believe the election was rigged?
I don't. You know, I'm proud to have worked hard with the Attorney General, Chris Carr, with our Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and his entire team to put on what is a fair and legal election here in Georgia. It certainly was close. The person I voted for didn't win, but that doesn't change my job description, and we're going to keep working hard.
On January 5th, you must defeat Ossoff and Warnock and send two great people, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, back to the Senate. Let me tell you, this election was rigged, and we can't let it happen to two of the greatest, most respected people in Washington. We can't let it happen again.
My encouragement is to cut the strings to any sort of talk about election fraud, misinformation.
Integrity matters, truth matters.
And I wanted to say I misidentified the gentleman who spoke out earlier. He was Secretary of State, not the Attorney General of Georgia. But there you have it. And then the last gentleman you saw speak was also a Republican. Rational Republicans are realizing what's happening. And I think, you know, even though these guys are falling on their swords for the president right now, I think they've got to be a little nervous because even though the symbol of the Republican Party is an elephant, it seems like the majority of Republicans have hitched their wagon to a jackass, and now they've got to figure out how to get away from this guy. Now, they're afraid because he did, as he stated, that's one of the few true things the president said. He has won more votes than any sitting president prior, but Joe Biden won more than any prior candidate. And it is what it is, as the president once said. There have been no irregularities found, as hard as they've tried. And, but let him keep playing his game. Let him be the ungracious little baby man that he is. I can't wait for it to be over. I mean, every day there's something new, and it's sad. But the only thing sadder than the way the president is behaving is the fact that there are a lot of people eating this stuff up. They are buying it. All these other media sources are lying. Elected officials are lying. Election officials are lying. His own attorney general is lying. How absurd is that? It's just ridiculous where we are right now. But let's see. I'm sorry. By the way, the number here is 330-595-1600, and I might have Tim on the line right now. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Mo. Very nice to talk to you finally.
Finally got it together. Good to talk to you, Tim. What's on your mind?
Well, you know, I've worked in media many times, many years too, as well, but I'm just a normal citizen. I'm retired. And, you know, I look at what's going on with media and the general public and politicians and politics. And the one thing that keeps going through my head is what you were just talking about, the fact that millions of people believe all these crazy things. What disturbs me the most, Mo, is I hope the Democrats and Republicans, the movers and shakers, the leaders of these two parties, Never allow a politician or a business person to become their nominee, such a loose cannon. This is so incredibly dangerous for our everyday lives and our institutions. They should know better than ever. They wouldn't let Bernie Sanders become their nominee because they thought he was too far left. Why in God's name would they think Donald Trump would be somebody they'd want to hitch their wagon to? This is frightening to me. I'm very serious about it.
No, you should be frightened, but are you familiar with a poll that I can't give you the exact I don't know. That was a Pew Research poll where they had 47% of Republicans saying that if Trump was to run again in 2024, they would vote for him.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah. Because, and I want to go back to something else on election night. Van Jones of CNN, who, I have mixed opinions of him, but I totally agreed to one thing he said. He wanted this election to be a repudiation of Donald Trump, and it was not, because at least half of America thinks that the way this man behaves, that the lies he tells, that the way he disparages people is totally fine. And that's a scary thought.
You know, a good way to make sure that the Trumpsters, let's quiet them down a little bit. Have the Democrats actually do something that benefits millions and millions of people. They've got to perform. Now that they've won, and hope to God they win in Georgia and control the Senate. Great. Let's hold them accountable. Do something to help the average person so that the Republicans and the people who believe in Trump really have nothing to say. That's all I got, brother. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Hope you come back on the radio, but it's good to have you here too. And Heidi Depp, by the way.
Thank you very much, Tim. And hey, by the way, I see why you were in the business so long. Great voice. Fine. I'm glad I finally get to hear your voice.
Yeah, we'll talk someday.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. By the way, the number here is 330-595-1600, and good to hear from somebody. Go look at the comments again. Matt says Rivers and Verbs spread baseless conspiracy theories, and their audience eats it up. It's so pathetic to hear. Hope you return the 570. And let's see. Barbara says codependent followers. Gary says diaper Don. Yeah, I remember that. That actually trended #1 for a while. And that's when Trump really got mad at Twitter that day. And by the way, here's the part where he's living in fantasy land. When you can, if he was as popular as he thinks he is, something like that should never trend #1 on Twitter. You think it would all be, save the vote, or, whatever they're saying, how they're trying to say the thing was rigged. You think it was rigged would be the #1 thing on Twitter if everybody loved Donald Trump. But the fact is, the majority of Americans know better. They know that this was a fair and square election, and that the majority of Americans simply aren't members of Cult 45. Let's see. Yes, that's true, Willie. It says Trump is the only, he calls him T-Rump. T-Rump is the only president to lose 2 popular elections. He's correct there. He lost popular vote twice. And as I said, that's because he's unpopular. But, and Gary says, excellent points, Tim. I do agree. Debbie says, what scares me too, they aren't all rural. You're right. I mean, I've said it before. Let's remember, Ohio went red. And I remember riding out in the country and seeing these crazy shrines to Donald Trump. Not just one sign, banners, flags, 14 signs, just totally crazy stuff. So I kind of felt like that Ohio might go red. I was surprised when that Mahoney, and let's see, finally. Oh, and Tim says, thank you, Gary, for the compliment. Okay, let's keep rolling, though. Next clip. Yeah. Rudy was in Georgia last week, and there's a lot to talk from BuzzFeed. Okay, sorry about that. A little technical problem there, so you're not going to get to see that one today. But I guess the one thing that you do need to know is that I'm sure you do know by now that Rudy Giuliani tested positive for the coronavirus. So he is hospitalized as we speak. And but here's something that's scary. You know, this is, and I hate the people that try to say that they haven't politicized the whole thing of COVID-19 and the precautions you can take to prevent the spread of this virus. Let's remember, we've got a number of our representatives and state senators who are testing positive, all Republicans down in Columbus, because just last week they voted down a measure that would have forced them to wear masks while in the chamber. Oh, no, we can't wear masks. Oh, we can't do that. We're Republicans. And now a bunch of them are sick. Oh, by the way, I have zero sympathy for them because they're idiots. Well, I don't know why they keep playing this game. But let's pay attention to this. Now, we know Rudy is infected. But this, if it plays, this is footage of Rudy just the other day. Why is that line so far? Hold on just a minute.
That's the buffer.
Oh, okay.
That's just loading.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's take a look at, this was Rudy just, I believe this was Saturday in Georgia. So there you go. I mean, check him out. I mean, this is just the other day. He was positive at this moment. Now check out this sweet moment here. So there, at least somebody's wearing a mask there. So this guy's walking around spreading the love and a whole lot more. And look at all those. Oh yeah, I bet he better get checked.
Rudy, what have you learned from the hearing?
I mean, this is so sad. We know what you need to do to prevent this.
What have you learned from the hearing so far, Mr. Giuliani?
Today, well, we'll talk later, but today we learned an awful lot.
Oh, can I get a selfie, Rudy?
We're gonna rat you out.
Mr. Giuliani,
One of the best guys in the world.
did you ask the
She better get checked too.
Oh, are you really going to ask me that? Of course I did.
Have you committed any crimes that you would need to be pardoned for?
I guess that trooper might want to get checked.
Are you a crook?
I did not ask
Mr. Mayor, would you
I have
talk
not
about
committed any crimes.
Mr. Mayor, would you talk about your desire to have the legislature overturn the election?
We will discuss it later.
Fascinating, isn't it? Like I said, here we are with, almost 280,000 Americans dead, and this guy's walking around without a mask, hugging people. And there we have it. So, I don't know. Where do you go with this? I mean, where do you go with a party that encourages this kind of behavior, with a president who has never taken this seriously? It's not going to get any better. And let's remember that the Thanksgiving wave has not even kicked in yet. I don't know if you've noticed here locally that there's been a big uptick. I mean, by the way, in case you haven't heard, Ohio State fans, the game has been canceled, or at least postponed, because we have infections. Now, I didn't follow this closely. Do you know if it's Michigan State, or is it the Ohio State people who are infected? I'm talking to my producer. We can check.
Yeah, only through speculation. I thought it was Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because, it's Michigan. But anyway, so there you have that. So it's everywhere. So I can only say, and I know a lot of people, I still talk to people on Facebook and Twitter who are, it's Michigan. Okay. Thank you, Gary. And how about that vaccine? And let's talk about that vaccine. And by the way, the number here is 330-595-1600. I'm still leaning toward getting the vaccine. You have a number of people who are opposed to it. They say that we don't know enough about it. And my whole thing is, I believe, as I said, by the time it is widely available in this country, there would have been a number of people who have had it and who would have had it months before it is available here. In fact, just yesterday, I had my pneumonia shot. Of course, we know it's been tested and all that. I also had my flu shot earlier. I'm leaning very heavily toward having the COVID-19 vaccine. I would like to know how you feel about that, and your comments are welcome, as I said, at 330-595-1600. And yeah, I was so glad to see that. I was so glad to see that we're moving ahead. But, oh, by the way, Jenna Ellis, I don't know if you know, she's the blonde who's usually sitting at Rudy's side. She just tested positive as well. Isn't that great? Yeah. But like I said, we know what we're dealing with here, people. But these folks are politically posturing instead of dealing with the reality of a pandemic. So I'm at the point now where I don't want to sound mean, but when I hear about these fools getting sick, I don't even care anymore. I care. Well, I guess I should care because they may be standing in front of me at the grocery store with their nose hanging over their mask like an idiot. You know, I'm getting a little worked up here because, I mean, for God's sake, we're 10 months into this. You've been told what you need to do, and people are still acting like idiots. How many people are dying needlessly because of your stupidity? It's just sad. But let's see. Well, Gary says if Fauci approves it, I'll get it. Well, by the way, Fauci has obviously enthusiastically approved it. And there was some good news today from Pfizer. I actually had a disagreement with a friend of mine who is in the medical profession, and she's in no hurry to get the shot if she gets it at all. But I'm still leaning toward getting it, although I will see how it pans out. I am going to do some research of my own. I personally feel, though, that the sooner, herd immunity is not going to work. The sooner more people are vaccinated, the less the threat. I'm not a medical professional. I'm just listening to people who are. But as my friend brought up, there are a lot of people in the medical profession that aren't in any hurry to get this shot. Although a lot of hospitals require their employees to take such vaccinations. You have to make your own decision on this. I would like to hear if you're opposed to taking the vaccination, if you're skeptical. I'd like to hear from you at 330-595-1600. But as I said, I am leaning toward doing it. I don't want to upset anybody or I'm not questioning their judgment. You do what you think is best for you in this regard. But I think what's best for me and for the common good in this country is that people get vaccinated, unless in the next few months, there turns out to be some negative side effect to all this. But like I said, I don't know about you, but if you're depending on your fellow human being doing the right thing to be the answer to this, we've seen how that's playing out. Let's see what's up next. By the way, this is a MSNBC anchor Stephanie Rule has also tested positive, and she has a few things to say about that.
Of the 14 million Americans who have had the virus, I am now one of those Americans. After testing positive for COVID-19, I've spent the better part of the last 2 weeks in bed, isolating and taking all the precautions needed to protect myself, my family, and my community. My husband and my kids, they have it too. We still don't know how we got it, but we're getting better, and we are very, very lucky. I'm grateful to be back and on the mend and broadcasting safely from home, where I'm still isolating until I know for sure that I'm no longer contagious and positive. But that is not the case for the families of the 283,000 Americans who have died. More than 2,000 of them died just yesterday. I'll tell you, there is so much more that I now know after having COVID myself. Most importantly, we don't have a vaccine today. We have a virus that is ravaging our country, and we need to do a whole lot more to stop it. And as a person who is sick and scared, I am begging you, please take this seriously. It is not over. Of the 14.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know what to think. It's all around us. Like I said, I don't know what it takes for some people. By the way, interesting comment. Ted says pardon me, I'll get to you, Ted. I'm sorry. Tim says every RN and ER doctor I know personally take COVID-19 seriously. Many of them are Republicans as well. Well, Tim, I would ask you, are they going to get the vaccine? This is the point of contention with my friend. She seems to have a little trepidation about it because I think she thinks it rolled out too fast and there could be possible side effects, and I understand that is a consideration. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm leaning toward getting it, but I will do my due diligence. And as I hate to repeat myself, by the time it's widely available here, the world is moving ahead, and a lot of people around the world would have had this vaccine by the time we can get it at your Walgreens or wherever. So I'll just wait and see what happens. But at this moment, I'm still leaning toward getting the vaccine. Ted says, I'm not sure cloth masks work. Well, Ted, I'm sorry. I'll just say, once again, I don't understand people like you. I mean, so all these people are lying to us. And you see that all these good Republicans in Congress, 70% of the cases in Congress are Republicans who don't like to wear masks or who don't think they work. But let me finish your comment. It says, I'm not sure cloth masks work. I'm sure it's a simple courtesy to wear one. Plus, it's cold and it keeps my face warm. Okay, well, it goes a little beyond that, sir. Like I said, and as a good test case, let's see how many of those people who were playing kissy face with Rudy end up sick. They weren't wearing masks. And I think it's way beyond a matter of courtesy. But this is what bothers me about all this. But real quick here, let's take a look. This is courtesy of The Guardian, and this was this morning in England. You know, I love how and by the way, that's come out too. I meant to show that. Pfizer actually offered the United States first dibs at this virus. We could have got a lot more, this vaccine. We could have got a lot more of this vaccine from Pfizer, but the Trump administration declined, maybe because they weren't participating in Operation Warp Speed, because, you know, this president wants to take credit for everything. So since these guys wouldn't take his money, I guess he didn't want their vaccine. Now he'll probably wish we had taken it. Mr. America First, we are coming in second on this because the first occurred this morning in Great Britain with no help from Operation Warp Speed. Once again, this is courtesy of The Guardian.
I would say go for it. Go for it because it's free and it's the best thing that's ever happened at the moment. So please go for it. That's all I say, you know.
Well, she's a pretty, pretty spry, over 90-year-old. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if she kills over in the next couple of weeks or whatever, or we'll see if she does well. Tim says, the medical folks I know say by the time the vaccine reaches most of us, the side effects should be known. They say third quarter next year, and that's what I was saying. But in discussions with my friend who is a medical professional herself, she doesn't think that's long enough. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but that was my impression, is she doesn't think that's long enough to see if there will be negative side effects. But as I said, I am going for it if by the time it is available, a bunch of people haven't killed over or grown a third eye or something, because I think what bothers some people in this is that this is being done in a different way than vaccines are typically done, and it involves it involves basically they're creating a material that the virus will be drawn to, and it neutralizes the virus. I may not be using the correct terms there, but that's the basic premise, as opposed to where you have like your flu vaccines that actually use the virus itself, live and dead strains of it. And I'm not a medical professional, obviously, so if I'm screwing this all up, bear with me, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. Let's see. Gary says, my sister works at University Hospital in Cleveland, specializes in cystic fibrosis. She volunteered, get that back, please. I'm sorry. She volunteered months ago to be part of taking experimental vaccines, and she highly recommends getting the vaccine. I just read that a friend of mine down in Texas was a part of a test program as well. By the way, even though I'm not a fan, one of our Ohio senators, Republican Rob Portman, is also a test patient on the vaccine. Number one killer of Americans since December 1st, 2020, over heart attacks, hypertension, cancer, and flu. You are right, Willie, and that is COVID-19. We got to get out of here. I'm sorry. There's some other folks that are ready to go on. Real quick, I will read this one and we're out of here. Dan made excuses today on why Trump didn't order those other vaccines. He figured Trump didn't want to spend more money at the time, without knowing how effective this would be. Him and Ron read Trump's mind and knows what he's thinking all the time. Well, if you're reading Trump's mind, it must be a pretty short read. I got to get out of here.
Also, we have Lori calling in. How about calling Thursday, Lori?
Lori, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm out of time here. I definitely want to talk to you, and I'd like to because you are knowledgeable in this. And as I said, I certainly don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. You could probably clarify what my friend was trying to tell me. So I got to get out of here because there's a show coming on, and I'm running behind. I'm Mo Ray. Thanks for being with me. And saying what I always say, keep your eyes on the prize.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about us. Thank you.